Well, welcome to this brief recorded message for the Yom Kippur prayer event. My name is Alex Jacob and I work with the church's ministry among Jewish people. Now, normally what we do on Yom Kippur, we meet with our friends and colleagues from different mission agencies in a central London venue to pray for Jewish people, for an openness to the gospel, and we also listen for news from different agencies about different evangelist initiatives. But unfortunately, due to the COVID-19 restrictions, we can't actually meet physically in one place. But we're hoping that people will meet and pray in small groups or individually during Yom Kippur. So what I've done is prepared a short service to help people to pray during Yom Kippur. And the order of service is on the CMJ UK website. You can download that. And also the service is complemented by a Days of Awe little booklet, a prayer resource, which again is really helpful to aid your prayers for Yom Kippur. So let's just go through the service very, very quickly. I guess if you set aside maybe 1 or 2 hours for prayer, again, traditionally, often people choose to fast on Yom Kippur, and that's something you may want to consider. I know from a CMJ staff point of view, often people do fast, and we close the office to really have a special day to identify with our Jewish friends and families and to pray on Yom Kippur. So the service which is there is just a rough guide. Please feel very free to chop and change it, which works best for you. But we begin with a time of silence, and I think often God speaks to us powerfully in silence. And there's a little optional breathing exercise you may want to use. I sometimes use this in my own prayer time. So in the silence, just to concentrate on breathing in, and as you breathe in, you invite the Holy Spirit to come into your life, and you invite God's goodness and God's passion for the gospel to flow into you. And as you breathe out, you kind of focus on all those things you know which hinder you from being close to God, and all those things which will block or disrupt you in your prayers. So that's just a really nice, simple exercise, breathing in God's goodness and breathing out those things you need to let go of before you enter into a sustained time of prayer. And then we say together the Lord's Prayer. The Lord's Prayer is the prayer Jesus taught us to pray, and it's a lovely prayer to begin a time of prayer because it unites us with Christians all over the world, and we say the Lord's Prayer together. And then there's a reading from Leviticus 16. I've chosen the Leviticus 16 reading because what is described in Leviticus 16 is the template for the Yom Kippur service in the temple which follows. So again, if you're fairly new to the Yom Kippur teaching, Leviticus 16 will give you a biblical route into understanding a little bit more about this important day. And then following the Leviticus reading, there's 4 sections, and each section is based on a reading from Ezekiel. And that's where the Days of Awe booklet comes into its own, because during the 10 days leading up to Yom Kippur, different ministries have contributed readings and reflections from the book of Ezekiel. The book of Ezekiel is often associated with the synagogue services leading up to Yom Kippur. So we've got 4 readings from Ezekiel 1, Ezekiel 2, Ezekiel 20, and then finally from Ezekiel 37. And on the sheet, with each reading from Ezekiel, there's a particular area to focus in on your prayers. So for example, Ezekiel 1 then leads us into a time of prayer for the Jewish communities in Israel. And then as we draw to a close of those readings, we again have a time to say the Lord's Prayer, and we offer all our prayers and all our reflections to God. And if you've been in a small group praying, it's always good, I think, at the end of the prayer time to share any insights, any particular thoughts, anything you felt the Lord was saying to you. Maybe the Lord's giving you a picture or a word to share with others in that group. So again, it's always good, isn't it, just to talk about your prayer reflections at the end. So the structure is really using Leviticus 16 and then the 4 readings and reflections from the book of Ezekiel. As I say, it's probably about an hour, maybe 2 hours. Don't rush it, just enjoy that time on Yom Kippur. And again, I'm really sorry we can't all be together, but maybe this particular structure will give us opportunities to pray and maybe more of us will be praying, in our own small groups or on our own, then could possibly gather in one place in London at this time. So visit the CMJ website. If obviously you're listening to this, you're on the site, and you can download the order service and the Days of Awe booklet. And I look forward to praying with you on Yom Kippur. Thanks ever so much. God bless.